Hello and welcome to Colin Crawford and the Jersey Guy Podcast. Appreciate you guys coming. How's everybody doing?
Not too shabby, brother.
We're good?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just chilling, man.
Yeah.
It's Friday night.
Friday.
Just got paid.
Exactly what I was going to say. The weather's
know
going to... I wish
Money in
that
my
was last
pocket.
week.
So for not everybody that knows, I take like an hour drive, but it's all back roads. So like during the winter, it's just sticks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But now it's looking it's such a scenic ride. I enjoy it. I
Everything's-
actually enjoy driving up. At night,
Everything's
it's like
blooming
dark,
now,
but
right?
It's so nice. All the leaves are on the trees, all the budding, flowers.
It's awesome.
Yeah, you and Bud.
Pretty.
Everything's budding.
Budding.
Bud. That is funny as hell. Too much. So I'm glad everybody's good. So let's do it, Lou. Talk to us. What's today's
So
topic?
I was thinking, like, what would be a good topic for a podcast? And I was thinking, for some reason, Philadelphia experiment popped into my head. It's a good story, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was always interesting. I remember watching the movie when I was a kid. You know, it was a big deal at that time for us because, we were already into that kind of stuff. We just didn't have what they have now today with the movies that make it look like super, fragilistic.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, XP
That'd be a reboot.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But there was always this thing about Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah.
Some information on it right now. Explain what.
So you put the glasses on right, though.
Okay. Philadelphia experiment is an alleged military experiment that took place in 1943 at the Philadelphia Navy Shipyard. The story claims that the U.S. Navy attempted to make the U.S. Eldridge, a destroyer escort, invisible to radar using a form of electromagnetic field manipulation. According to conspiracy theories, the experiment resulted in unintended consequences, such as teleportation, time travel, served physical and psychological effects on the crew.
Right.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So now, if that did happen, I want to know with proof. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would like to
Who's
see
to
and talk
say
to those
it
guys.
didn't?
Because, no, I'm saying, like, I would like to see, well, I guess more, I wonder if, because they did it that one time, they were able to recreate.
Well, I'm sure
and
they did.
Everything now is like, of course, the super altered future that should have been. You know what I mean? That's craziness, dude. That is crazy.
Let me read on a little bit more.
Go ahead.
The legend largely stems from accounts by Carl M. Allen, also known as Carlos Allende, who claimed to have witnessed an experiment, wrote letters about it in the 1950s. He claims were later publicized books, such as Philadelphia Experiment, Project Invisibility, 1979 by Williams. The ship was said to have vanished from Philadelphia and reappeared in Norfolk, Virginia. But before returning, some reports claim that crew members were embedded in the ship, metals suffered mental breakdowns, and were left permanently invisible.
Like the Invisible Man, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's what I'm saying.
Crazy.
That's
Yeah.
nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So now when they got off the ship, like they were stuck in that other dimension, I guess. You know what I mean? Like that in between thing.
I wonder if people were able to see them with like thermal scanners though. Like were they so were they like the Predator? Were they like were they invisible? Like you definitely couldn't see them, or were they like bending light? Like the Predator?
I don't know,
like we could see them.
that's pretty
kinda
crazy,
when
though,
they're-
Right,
man.
you see that little,
like
I
their
wonder.
shape. Like their glass.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because then that would be the question too, as far as them on the boat, because if they were going to beat radar, so radar is just a matter of how they made the ship that the sound waves would reflect
Yeah,
differently.
like
off
the
of
stealth bomber.
Right, exactly like that.
And that's what they use now, of course. Or
Right.
at least for what we know. I'm sure it's working on other shit that we don't
So
know.
now, and then they say, and then now what they're using are cameras to make something seem invisible. So then they'll do like they put cameras on one side of it, and then the TV screen, if you will, on the opposite side. This way, it looks like you're looking through. You know what I'm saying? And so then this. So I mean, I didn't see all of that, Lou. So they were doing it
You
on
don't remember the movie
electro.
when you were a kid watching
Nah,
that?
dude, I'm
It
having
was
a
a big
brain
deal.
fart.
This,
I
when this
remember
movie
some of
came
it,
on,
but
we watched it, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out.
There's no credible evidence that such experiment occurred.
Right, of course.
The United States Navy has repeatedly denied the story, saying that no such invisibility or teleportation experiment was conducted. Some researchers believe that the myth may have been influenced by real projects like Project Rainbow, a classified World War II effort related to radar camouflage.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. So that then I want to know what it was that they were doing. So what I mean is, as far as like, was it through electricity, like electromagnetic?
That's what I said. Electromagnetic. They were
that
using.
it got overloaded. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying. That's what I would like to know.
Because people got caught in the metal and all that?
Right, yeah. You know what I mean?
They didn't know how to control it. Obviously, it was the first time, so they didn't know what was going to happen. They were like, oh, let's see what happens. What happens if we put these two things together, man? And we just turn it on.
Exactly. Dude, that's insane, man. That is just so crazy.
I know.
Oh, my God.
But that fact that it supposedly traveled from Philly to Norfolk.
Invisible.
Invisible or like
invisible.
But not teleported?
No, invisible.
I don't know. Does it say invisible?
No, invisible.
No, that's what you said. That's what you said.
It says it vanished from Pennsylvania, so I guess that means invisible.
Invisible.
Okay.
I'm going to say invisible because then when it came back.
For some reason, my mind goes to teleportation when you say that. I don't know why, but you know what I mean.
So it makes sense because and that's what I was going to say next, because teleportation, if we remember some of the little crazy funny sci-fi movies that we seen when they were doing the teleportation,
right.
Somebody from the ship down to the planet, that they came back all mush because their cells and everything was all mixed up. So then if it was something like a teleportation and they ended up, you said they were part of the metal on the ship.
Right. When they came back, phased back in, they probably were not in sync, and they wound up forming inside the ship itself.
Some shit happened to the mental,
exactly. And then the crate,
that kind of. But there are two types of teleportation theories, right? So there's that kind where it breaks it down, and then there's the where it bends, like space and time, where like this point A and this point's here, and like
and then
you just step through it,
right? You're just walking like through a door,
right?
That's it.
But then, if that was the case with this boat,
but I don't think that was the case with the boat. I think they made the shit invisible. Like they did like some fucking,
they did something, tapped into something too, because
Predator type,
right?
or like if you ever played Metal Gear,
right?
Oh wow,
the ninja guy, the one.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Metal Gear
Ninja, they call him,
So now this was in what year?
1943, I think.
43. So when did the spaceship crash at Roswell?
Oh, in the 50s. Escort, ChatGPT.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When did the UFO crash in Roswell, New Mexico? Don't tell me.
Yeah, he's talking to his
Can't get Michael Pio tell me.
Yeah.
July 1947.
4 years later.
4 years
you were
later.
able to hear that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So now
That's awesome.
in 47. So now if they were trying to reverse engineer some of the things that they found on the spaceship that did not crash.
Technology, they weren't
quote,
sure
unquote.
exactly how it worked.
Right. And then that's probably where the FUBAR came in.
Right.
And they ended up, what they were trying to just be invisible, time travel just ended up happening. That's like, oops.
Right.
I wonder if that audio can go through.
I bet you it did. I'm sure it did.
I don't know.
You can hear it on there.
I hope our listeners.
Yeah, that's crazy. Just the fact that they even tried to do that, and and they phased in and out of not only invisibility but possibly time as well, which is
which is really crazy because they probably didn't even know what they did to time travel. Like, you know what I'm saying?
They probably only had an idea, and it was enough for them to go, okay, let's do it. Man.
See, that's straight like Twilight Zone stuff for me, bro. You know what I mean? Like it's just, of all the things that you couldn't like hold on to, and you know what I mean, to harness, if you will, or just to see, and it was that time travel, and the boat is probably gone now. You know what I mean? Like didn't they say that the boat was gone? Did I read that before? That the boat, they don't even have the boat. We can't see the boat. Like it's not like on display somewhere, like in a museum or whatever. Like we can't even see the boat. You know what I mean?
Oh, in other words, it's not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
A commission. You know what I mean?
They probably broke it down already.
But they either broke it down or it's hidden in the.
No, they recycled it. We just built something else.
Did something else with it because, man, you know how crazy. I would love to have been able to see that boat. That would have been so crazy.
Oh,
no, I would. Yeah. It was invisible. I couldn't see it. I wouldn't be able to. Oh.
Maybe that's why we don't have it on display. You can't see it.
It's right here.
We can't even see it.
It's right here. If you put on these,
you think you can see it? We can't see it.
This red and green glasses, you can see anything. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But not, bro. So imagine, let's say that they did end up harnessing it. And
that'd be funny.
Go ahead. What?
Just making a joke. Yeah. Like, can we see the boat? You can't see it. They won't let us see it, but they were just telling you you can't see it.
Right. They were just saying you can't see it.
That's freaking hilarious. But
on
yeah,
first.
so I mean, now again, how many things are there stories that we don't know about?
Of course.
That, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I guess for me, to an extent, there's certain things that the government shouldn't tell people, because if that's a secret and it's,
Well, they try to. Sometimes it leaks out. Though.
Right. Yeah.
People who they didn't really handle the experiment.
Yeah, too well.
There was people on the ship.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? They had a crew.
Oh, because they were invisible. So now their voices. There was an experiment and we were caught in the boat. And then you're thinking like, oh my God, that's a great story. You start writing it down. You know what I mean? You make a great flick about it. And it was
cool.
One of the invisible guys that was on that ship when they came back and docked, got off the boat and he's talking to his family and shit. Jimmy spoke to me. And meanwhile, he's like, I'm right here.
It's like Star Trek stuff. And they're in a different phase or dimension. Like they can't. You can see them, but they can't see you.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, that's so that then how many times has it happened and people have disappeared because it was done on a larger scale? You know what I mean? Right, yeah. So then it's not really that a lot of people have,
they probably,
quote unquote, disappeared.
Probably, made it more confined, or what's the right word I'm looking for?
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about like by
more
now.
Controlled.
Yeah. Right. By now they have.
Say, hey, let's do this right in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. But think of how many things they've done in the past, like with nuclear weapons when they practice, testing
either under
them
the
out.
ground or under the water.
So then people just happen to get caught in the way. That's how the Incredible Hulk became.
Oh, I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
There's a crossover.
Right, yeah, you go, the super crossover. But you know what I'm saying? It's like it's one of those things, like, so many things that we don't know could have been, the way that there are a bunch of things that, the military or every country that they could have just done. Yeah.
Military, they're doing shit that we probably don't even know about. But
I mean, think about it. The stealth bomber was back in the 50s and 60s that they were looking at, that they were testing the idea of having it, not actually maybe flying it, using it as on missions and stuff, but they were looking at that technology to make it invisible,
Right. And usually what they have on it now.
Right. And then that was the other thing too, is that the way that they made
just
the
blocks
engines
it from
on
radar.
it. Right. So they made the engines that you can't hear it as it's coming to you. When you hear the engines on those airplanes,
It's when they left.
Is when they left. So now it's like, you don't even hear that.
Yeah.
It's just like right there. It's like, what's that? And you're caught in the middle of the bombs. You know what I'm saying? So,
but it's so high anyway, you're not going to see that thing.
Well, yeah.
That thing is operating at like a level of freaking altitude where it can't be seen at the same time.
Listen, it's wild, man. And it's cool and super interesting because, all the movies that we've seen, they said like the Manhattan Project and stuff like that. What was the one that they just did that made all that money last year? It was one of the the best movies of the year. Oppenheimer.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I never saw it.
Yeah, I didn't get to see it either. I saw parts of it. So then
it was a good movie.
Just that, there are parts of the story that I'm sure haven't been told, but just the idea that these were government projects that had happened.
They were doing some wild shit.
They were just trying to do whatever.
So that's the thing that always makes me wonder, right? If they were doing wild stuff like that back then, right? What are they doing now?
Oh, forget it. I don't even want to know, man. I don't even want to know.
Like what kind of, or
no, I don't.
Because I find it hard to believe to be like, all right, we got to stop this, guys. I doubt highly that, but like, is this where like a lot of quantum mechanics come in?
Oh, definitely,
stuff like
bro.
that? All kinds of wild stuff.
Well, and
Brainiac
think about it.
shit.
Yeah. Well, even look too. They were talking about exoskeletons on soldiers many moons ago. They were talking about like the $6 million man having this cybernetic stuff, limbs and things like
it's like
that.
A suit. You get into
like
it.
a whole suit or whatever.
They're working on that now, actually.
And they keep making it better and to do all these things. So it's something that had been thought about before, whether it was something that somebody saw.
Technology gets better, right?
Exactly. Because something that they saw out of a comic book or something that they thought they saw in a movie, in a TV show, sci-fi something.
Comes alive.
Exactly. And that's what it is. Many movies. Back to the Future. You know, when Marty parked the car and he wanted to get, he had on the hazmat suit.
Yeah.
So they thought that he was an alien, you know, when he crashed the car into the barn. And he comes out like, oh, it's an
that was the
alien.
best. Yeah,
Right. So, you know, it's just now that little kid that was on there saw it. We're just talking, like I said, if it was real life, you know, somebody just saw something because
traumatized
of this. Right. But he now says, you know, this is a good story. Now it becomes a story. Now one of us reads it and we're geniuses. And now we're like, you know what, guys, we're going to make this or we're going to have that, you know. I'm just saying, like, that's where my mind goes, you know. And as far as military is concerned, dude, what haven't they done? What haven't they tried?
I don't want to know.
You know?
That's what I keep saying. I don't want to know.
I don't know. I'm kind of nosy.
I mean, yeah, there's some things that probably don't want to know.
Yeah.
The thing is, do you think they invented time travel?
I think they did.
I think if they did, though,
But I don't think it's anything you get into. I
feel
think
like
it's like what
we're
you said
living in
before,
our-
where you walk through
we're
something
living
and
right
you're
now.
teleported.
in whatever, like if they did invent time travel, that means they've used it already,
Right.
which means whatever they did, they did.
Yes. Because
Whoever
it's gonna
used
be-
time travel, because
Yeah.
we're living in present day.
So I think.
it affects the past. What did they?
Possibly.
You know what I mean?
Well, right. So that then now let's think about this though. Time travel, if they did it not so much to change, let's just say regular history, you know, just you know, to make whatever technology. You know what I mean? And the excuse or the whatever you want to call it was aliens that they've given us this technology. In actuality, it was just us.
Right.
And we, you know, travel or military, whomever, travel back and forth into time and, you know, was able to bring some of that stuff back to make it happen a little faster. You know, like we spoke before on one of our other shows, how fast technology has jumped in the last
Oh, and it keeps
50
just
years.
making more
And it's just
leaps
getting
and bounds,
faster.
yeah.
Dude, it went from vinyl to cassettes, I mean, to 8-tracks to cassettes to MP3 to DVDs to the iPods.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just all these things.
Everything.
And now it's just streaming
different
services.
audio, and not just streaming.
Yeah, and that's in the
Now
last
just
60
streaming
years.
music.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
It's
in
not
the
even a
last
file,
60 years,
yeah.
we've gotten to where we have all these things. Computers, what they were, and went from.
You know, I'm gonna.
Yeah,
now
I
it's
remember
just-
them.
can't
now
help
we're
it.
on our
I had
phone.
that. I had that
I'm
computer.
going to digress a little bit. I can't help it. I gotta say, I just find it interesting how. We'll get back to the main topic. I promise. We won't sidebar too much. But no, like how awesome it is now to like in the. I know a lot of musicians do struggle because, but like the whole access to having music, like just by paying people now can start finding music that they might not have liked. Or like more underground stuff can become available, and it's crazy. Like even now, I'm like listening to all these artists and discovering all this music that I never had access to because we only were like the record companies. This is what we're dishing out to you. Listen to this.
right.
Listen to this. Listen to this.
Exactly.
They still do that, but now like a lot of people are just discovering more music and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yep, well, Chance the Rapper.
And that's technology. You know,
Right.
it gives everybody the freedom to
It's
do
awesome.
that.
We're living
Exactly.
in a cool time now. We can
Yep.
just listen to whatever you like, or like what you do. You have like this crazy mix. I love. It's like your mix. You, like it goes from this to that to this to that when you have your music on.
Yep.
Yeah, because I like so much different music.
Yeah.
And I thank my parents for that because they were they loved so much different. And then whoever, and I just love music. Period.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
for
I sent him
reference,
piano music. I think I sent used piano music the other day.
That
for
was
reference for
Mozart.
everybody
I
was like,
listening, before we have the podcast, Lou has his music on, and it's just like
Yep,
all
it's all
different,
over.
all the different
Yeah.
stuff we're just listening to.
But you're saying about people losing money, you know, artists,
Yeah,
musicians,
I know
or whatever.
that's like-
so, like, you
that's
had this, but
bad
it's how
side
they
to it.
make their money now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Oh,
like,
now it's
you know,
marketing. They had to change to
So like,
marketing.
you said, like I started to say before, you had Chance the Rapper. Chance the Rapper didn't sign with any music labels. He just, you know, did it on his own. He was, you know, social media
Yeah.
famous and whatnot.
DIY,
and
yeah.
DIY stuff, exactly, all day long. And he promoted himself, sold his own music, the way that we have
Right.
podcasts on all these streaming services.
making more money now.
He's making more money now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because now
Because
he's
he
able
owns
to
his
do
own
this.
music.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the other flip side too. Is
Right.
like, are the record companies are kind of becoming kind of like a not needed thing because record companies make records.
Right.
What do they make now?
Right. No
one
yeah.
uses
It's not the same. Yeah. the
So like,
record-
who are they? They're just like banks now
Right.
for
Exactly.
like
funding, just to fund the
they're
studio
like
time.
they're basically like investors.
Yes,
now.
exactly.
That's all they are now.
Yep. And they're still trying to get the big money off, you
Yeah.
know, they're trying to get the, 40% instead of the,
Yeah.
10% and whatnot.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. So then with all that being said, look at how it's possible that this time travel, because of the Philadelphia experiment, that this is the conversation we're having. You know, like we just like, oh my God.
Well, they were messing around with it then, and I'm sure they were doing it before that too, that we don't know about it.
Right.
You know, so as much, you know, when we think about all that stuff, you got to say to yourself, yeah, they're thinking about that stuff too, because there's a bunch of nerds over there working on that shit.
Yeah.
Trying to make it real.
Yep, like you're saying. So now Bellick claimed that, you know, he and his brother Duncan were crew members on the USS Eldridge. Now they got away. So that then, if they got away on the other page, second one. So now if they got away, they were never found again. Like
no, they went
right. I'm saying
because they jumped off the ship.
Right. So then, but they still ended up time traveling.
They wound up instead landing in water, and they found themselves transported through time vortex and ended up in the year 2749.
Right. So now
that's 800 years
into the future.
So
now they're there. Now they're bugging out, and they're talking about all the things that have happened. So then, how did they get back?
Because they were phasing in and out of time.
There you go. So now in that time,
that's at least the idea of
what was going on. So now we're going to assume.
They told everybody they went back to their present,
right?
And this is what they told
and
everyone.
Then they came back, right? So then when they came back, now it's like they came back with. So what the theory?
They were there for a while and then came back.
Exactly. So phasing in and out, quote unquote, phasing in and out. But they may have when they came back, right? They came back with all the knowledge from the future.
Well, whatever they saw or experienced or lived.
So they may have, and they came back older.
No, they came. They came back the way they were. I don't know if they aged or not. I don't think so.
That's what I'm saying. I don't remember what it was in the whatchamacallit. But then but still, even with that, it was that few minutes that they were out there. They saw all these things that they brought it back, and it was in 1983 that they came back. And like I said, look at how fast technology jumped in the 70s and 80s.
I love what it says, though, the future is, though.
What do you mean?
He described the future of society with no government as we know it, and everything is controlled and AI driven. Can you imagine that?
Right. Yeah, I do.
That would be a cool society to live in. You know what? That's something I thought about, one day when I was pondering.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah.
If man gets out of its way, eventually they'll get to that point where they're able to live life not with the stress.
No, could you imagine a futuristic society? Picture this, right? Where you have this AI and you'd be like, I want this house. And you just AI builds your house.
Yeah.
And like the economy is just based on contributions. Like everybody just contributes to society, but like there's no money. Like the AI
you don't need to
house,
work,
you get
but you have a job, right?
AI builds your house. AI builds your own furniture, design your own furniture, everything you just could design to spec, and it fucking builds it for you. And then like same thing, food. You can, and all your house is always clean. We already got that. We already got just to sweep the floor, basically, to vacuum the floor. Start having robots that just take care of your house, that cook for you, that do everything.
Right?
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
It'd be like, and we would have
Jetsons.
time to just like kind of be able to like live life a little bit better now, because like you could like pursue more interests and do things because like everything's being done for you.
We'll see that. That's where the catch comes in. Go ahead,
right?
You first.
I think you're going to say the same thing I'm going to say, but you would want to still keep things. I think we would get to a point where we realized that relying on one thing all the time and not doing other things wasn't good for our health, right? So then they found that balance where they do both.
Right.
Right. But like even like and like jobs that like are really bad and require hard labor, that like we like some of the shit I know people don't like to talk about, but like a lot of our chocolate is like fucking slave labor. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
But now you have
Bless
robots.
Excuse me. Sorry.
All right.
Bless you.
Thank you.
The robots. The robot, you can have just, AI driven robots doing all the, farming and all the heavy hard labor that like, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, again, but I'm not going to say that it's taking the jobs. Right. Well, no, but so
take
here's
away
the thing.
the jobs that like,
because it's that's something that we do.
But there has to be a way the balance where like now those people that do, that is work for those people though, they get paid. Like now they don't want to have jobs. So like you got to find.
Well, see, so like for me, here's my thing. I like the idea of having mechanical things helping helping. Like people were complaining about having the electric vehicles. My thing is that now we evolve as far as what we do. So our job before was to build the car and only maintain this, combustion engine. Now it's about now teaching the people who built the cars how to build and maintain an electric vehicle.
Hopefully
You know what I'm
hydrogen
saying?
will be the next thing.
Right, but that's the thing, that it's now a matter of us evolving, into different things, cleaner energy. No matter how you try to put it, or try to make it sound any kind of different, we need cleaner energy. You know what I'm saying? And we all are victims of what is in the air right now, what's in our food and such,
And contributors.
and contributors all at the same time, because we're like, oh well, my footprint isn't that big. It's still big enough to
It's
where
just
it
because
is.
you
You know
have
what I'm saying?
you're kind of restricted by the times that you have, right? You got
Exactly.
gasoline mostly is the dominant thing, and that's what's being used.
So that then now, if we get to where robots or any kind of AI is now taking over or doing those things,
It'll cut
you know what I'm
that
saying?
down drastically.
Yeah, because you got that movie with Will Smith, the iRobot.
Oh, yeah,
right.
yeah.
So that then now you're looking at all the things in that
That's
movie.
always the Hollywood version. Yeah.
Oh
it's
yeah,
always
no, but I'm
disaster.
saying, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
because it's still the thought. You know what I'm saying? It's just still that idea. Now we've turned around, and I'm not saying the bad part of the movie. I'm just saying now we have these robots that are doing most of our stuff for us. You know what I'm saying? Are we going to end up overweight because now we don't have to go and do those things? Yes,
Like,
there
I
is
still
a
be
point.
health conscious. As people will have to exercise, or
Right.
will have to do. You know,
They would. It will remind
Kinda
you
like
when
now,
it's
though.
time for you to
Well, you know what,
exercise. If you got AI, it's going to do all that for
we're
you.
all. I mean,
It's
if
going to
you're-
be your assistant.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to teach you how to. It's going to cook for you and be like, you're not going to let. Maybe you can have it set. Be like, don't let me get overweight. Where it'll cook like it'll.
More
make
portion
healthy food
control
for
and
you.
stuff like that.
portion
Yeah,
control, make
but
good
you,
healthy
you
food.
said you still have to get up and do it because they will, again,
And they
because
walk
I
you through
love
the
movies.
recipe, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I love movies all day long.
Yeah,
bro.
if you want to cook
And-
yourself, but maybe you don't have to cook yourself. Like maybe we got a soccer game tonight.
Right,
For
yeah.
the kids. We don't have time to cook, and it makes a meal for you. But then,
Right,
like
something
on
quick
other
and
nights,
take.
you make your own meals, and it
Right.
just
Well, but
give
again,
you
that's the balance
step-by-step
that
instructions.
but that's the balance that we are saying, like, yo,
then-
we're good with that.
but if you're a
But then,
lazy- if you're a
right,
lazy
and then
body,
you're gonna take
you're
around,
just-
you're
you're
gonna
just
turn
gonna be
around,
Yeah, I mean,
and then
that's you're right. That's who
But
you are to begin with.
well, then maybe it should be up to the software designers to like tell people and inform them, be like, let you know that like you should be doing this yourself most days because you are going to get overweight, and just teach people.
Yeah, but I mean, I get
Listen,
it, and I
right,
hear
you
that.
do it to your own.
Right.
We can do it now, right? We still have devices that we use now
Yeah.
that
No,
we
but the
monitor.
AI
stuff.
will
Right.
be telling you like because they're going to be talking to you. You're
Only
basically-
because you
you're
wanted
basically
to,
gonna-
right? I
Because
would imagine you're the one
it's
who's
the same way-
directing it.
But it's the same way you talk to
You have like
ChatGPT.
C-3PO in your house all the time, man.
Right,
That's basically what it
exactly.
is. He's like,
Yeah.
sorry, sir, but I cannot
Yeah.
any cook for you anymore. You need to cook yourself
Yeah.
because you are getting fat.
You look to me.
Sorry, sir, but I must tell you, you are
Yes.
getting fat.
Yes.
It is against
That's
my
great.
programming. I cannot cook.
How would you say, sir?
Exactly.
Fat bastard.
Yo, wow. Dude. I think of Austin Powers. But but again, me with my movie stuff, there was that movie Wall-E cartoon. And they were showing the robots doing everything. And the people were sitting in like these hover chairs.
Oh, and they were fat.
And they were
Yeah,
fat
they
as
were
hell.
all overweight.
Everybody on there was overweight. They kept throwing them the whatever
And they went to
soda
space
and
because they polluted the land.
because
so
they
much.
polluted.
Right, and
it
they
was
had that
the-
one robot on the land, Wally,
right, Wall-E.
who was crushing that all up and
Right, and
stacking
making
it up.
them- and yup.
And then he found the flour.
Because Eve.
Yeah.
She
was one of the robots from the space.
Eva.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
She came through and she was from the spaceship.
Yeah.
And doing all that stuff. And then on the spaceship, the computer, the robot that was up there helping the captain, he, ended up like, no, we want to stay here because we don't want these people to take care of themselves because we're taking care of them.
Right,
and we get
right.
to live and do everything.
So the machine was making you a slave.
Exactly. For the most part, you know what I mean? Like I said, that's why I would love to be would have
I
been
think
able
that
to
it-
speak to these guys to see, to hear from them directly what they saw in the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it was going to be where there was no government and all that other stuff, and it was, just everybody living in harmony.
Right.
To me, it's like, well, how the hell did it happen? Like, let us know. Like really sit here and have.
I'm sure there's
these-
more information. I mean, we're sitting here.
Yeah.
We can look it up easy to find out what.
Because man, listen, that should be where we are getting to now. Because we got like 2,000 years before that. We get to that kind of thing.
there was another Philadelphia experiment 2. 1993, a remake made television in 2012, also titled The Philadelphia Experiment. Let me know if you're thinking of those stories.
So it says credibility of the story. It says there's no historical or scientific reference to support Bleak's claims. Many researchers consider his story to be a fabrication inspired by science fiction and conspiracy theories.
There you go.
His version of the Philadelphia Experiment was not part of the original reports or legends, but emerged from later, coinciding with the release of the 1984 movie The Philadelphia Experiment, which may have influenced him.
Right. So then it said, so was he really...
Or is this just a discredit?
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm playing, me. I know. I'm on both sides. So, it's like, what is it that these guys, even as far as ours...
But we're gonna talk about it like as if it is, though, right?
Okay, fair enough.
But I know what you mean. Like, But I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Sorry. No. I was gonna say basically what you were saying.
But these guys went there and they saw stuff. I'm sure they shared what they saw with whoever, and it probably was sworn to secrecy at the same time when they did freaking... All right. You can't say that anymore.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I guess, because, dude...
How would you not be able to... if you lived there for a little while?
Exactly. So then you would end up bringing somebody that's like, and I laughed because, again, another movie, Demolition Man, and instead of using toilet paper, they were using seashells.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those things.
Made no
like,
sense.
Yeah. Well, you scraped it all out and got it, whatever. But
Okay.
I don't know, man. It's just one of those things, I would love to be able to I don't know if I want to say time travel. You know what I mean? I would like to maybe go to different dimensions just to see how, just see what it is for different dimensions to how they live and what they're doing. Maybe different.
Or like other dimensions that are slightly different than this dimension.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I would like to see that little bit.
To be
of
like
difference.
a spectator where you're not necessarily involved or in the way of what's going on.
But like, what about like ones where it's like, I went to a dimension where like the only difference is that I have blonde hair. Or I'm 6'2".
Yeah.
Like,
the other
that's
one
the
I
only
have-
difference. Like, everything's the same. I'm sitting here right next to you, but I'm just a little taller.
Yeah.
Maybe I have maybe I have hair.
Yeah.
Long, like shit. Yeah, every time
like a long hair,
talk,
like a ponytail.
Every time he speaks, his hair just flows and like there's just a breeze. He's just like, shaking his head.
Oh, I can feel it right now.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
But yeah,
has
that would
the,
be a cool thing for me.
Terry
not so
Silver
much.
look.
Yes, man.
Karate Kid.
Yes, that's funny as hell.
Cobra
dude.
Kai, yeah.
Cobra Kai. Yeah, but and that's what I'm saying, dude. That would be, I would like that better. And if these guys had, I wish there was more proof from them. You know what I mean? Or just that they were, that there was more publications.
Yeah.
That there were more publications. I'm sorry, from them. Things that we could show that it would be substantial proof. To say, we traveled, I get it. Like we said before, things should stay some kind of secret, but then, and then the funny, well, not the funny, but the wild is that, you heard the what?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm going back and forth too. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was saying because on it says he's also linked to other theories too, like the Montauk Project,
right?
An alleged secret program involving time travel, mind control, and interdimensional experiences,
right?
like
Exactly.
you were talking about.
Yeah. Yep.
And Nikola Tesla.
And then Nikola Tesla's supposed role. He claimed Nikola Tesla was involved in early teleportation experiments.
Now, here's the thing too: if we all,
he was in some crazy shit too, man.
Well, that's the shit. So now
wireless electricity.
Tesla got kicked in the nuts.
It's crazy
because of the way that he was exactly trying to do the electricity. It wasn't beneficial to big business. Is what
he had the right idea, but I think he was
went.
going for the Bluetooth thing. Is what he was trying to do.
Basically, yes. So that then because
for that time, right?
Edison had turned around and had it that it was going to be monetarily feasible for big business to run the wires, as opposed to having everything through the air for everybody to get that. Why it was going to be free through Tesla. Tesla was going to give free power to everybody. Right. That's not monetarily feasible for any of the big business.
Hopefully that'll be another thing too, where you can use your own source of power to power your home or whatever.
What do you mean?
Well, you don't have to worry about paying someone else to power your home, whether there's gas.
But then that's
or
where
anything like that.
But that's where the windmill comes in. That's where the solar panels come in and things like that. Because if you have them all set up, and especially like here where you are, dude, you could literally unplug from the grid, and you can do and have your own power here. Right. You know what I mean? So you can already do that. And But again, Tesla was one of the ones. Tesla was almost like the Tony Stark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Back then.
Yeah.
Whatever
back then.
years there was. I don't know what years.
Yeah, whatever. But, you know, he was the Tony Stark. You know what I'm saying?
What year did Nikola Tesla invent the Tesla coil?
Nikola Tesla developed the Tesla coil in 1891.
1891. So think about that, bro. 1891, this is what this man is inventing. So now, if in 1891, this was his idea, you figure 5-10 years later,
Wow.
you know what I'm saying? That this is what they're talking about with time travel and things like that.
Yeah, that's
Come on, man.
That's wild.
You know what I'm saying? So to me, so what if Tesla was really from the future
Yeah.
and he was in the Manhattan Project or in the Philadelphia Project, and that he ended up going back that far?
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if they're saying that he was a part of this, you know what I mean? And
Imagine.
because, go ahead.
See, it got me thinking. I'm like, I thought of this weird theory.
Go ahead.
It's a loophole theory.
Okay.
Where because someone went back in time, that there's no origin and no one knows where the origin came from. So like, get this. This would be a good one of those theories. Say like a man working for Tesla,
Right.
invents time travel.
Right.
This guy Nikolai, he goes under this. He works for Tesla, so he goes back in time and uses his name, the name of the company he works for, to invent all this stuff. And then Elon Musk goes and invents Tesla. And like it's like we don't know where the origin started from, because he got it from that, but that came from there. And then that's like one of those theories of, I forget what it's called, but like it's a time travel theory where there's no origin of something because a paradox is created.
Right.
It's like a kind of a paradox. Except the way I was telling Kenny, there's I forget, it's like not paradox theory. I forget what the theory is called. We could probably look it up, but like where someone goes in time, right? Say like Tesla, say. This would be an interesting theory because we're talking about Nikola Tesla, right? Say like someone works for Tesla, right? The car company, and they invent time travel. And then the guy goes back in time and invents all this stuff, but he uses the last name Tesla because it was the company's working for. Right. He doesn't want to use his real last name in case it comes up in the future. Yeah. And he invents the Tesla coil. He's Nikola Tesla. Yeah. And then the company's created off of his name. So where'd it come from? Right. So where did the name Tesla come from? There's no origin now. Exactly. It's a loophole.
And there's a few things
that's a
like
time
that.
Travel loophole.
Right. Because there's a few people in history that applies to.
Yeah. Where there's no origin.
There's no origin to where those people came from. Yeah. Like even with Merlin.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They even, like, as far as like the Knights of the Round Table. Yes. Merlin is one of those theories, because you never saw where he came from. You don't know where he went. You don't know what, you know what I'm saying? Right, he's in the story, but he had these, kind of powers and stuff. It was like, I'm just saying, like, I'm with you, brother. That makes
it's like
that makes
time
crazy
travel
sense.
Paradox, or I don't know if paradox. Paradox is where like you mess up the time space continuum or something.
I'm not sure. About this stuff. Check this out, because I was just thinking about what you guys were saying.
Yeah.
One of the most famous viral stories about a man with a camera and travel comes from the 1941 photo taken reopening the South Fork Bridge in British Columbia.
Yes.
Canada.
Someone tried explaining that in a video.
In the image, among a crowd of people,
he looks like a hipster
dressed in a 1940s attire. There's a man who appears to be out of place.
Yep.
He wears what looks like a modern sunglass and logo T-shirt and holds a portable camera. This sparked internet theories that he was a time traveler.
Right. He wasn't like a hippie. He was just like us right now.
Yeah. No, it was called. This is what it says. It says the time traveling hipster photo is what it's called.
But they had an explanation is that people morally dressed. He looked out of place, but they think he came right from college. Like he came, like he was in.
Okay.
And he was dressed like that because he was wearing a lacrosse, because it's like a lacrosse shirt.
Yeah.
And the sunglasses he had, they say were around that time.
Right.
And the camera they think is like a.
The wind up that, but still, it's the whole idea.
But he looks like someone. It's just crazy. But maybe it is a time traveler, but maybe that's just someone just trying to make sense.
Yeah,
of it.
because there's
about-
a few things like that. Because there was the other one, like there was a guy that he was it was the 1940s. I think it was 1940s, 1950s, and it was the same idea that he was like in the background, and they have him with the what you call it? Oh, and what was
Keanu Reeves?
Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
Yes.
What about the old, like,
Yes.
there's a bunch of paintings of people that look like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
And you ever realize how Keanu Reeves doesn't seem like he's aging at all?
No,
either?
at all. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe he's like an immortal person. They
Yup,
got all
they
these-
had a few of those, man. They
Yeah.
have a few. But
There's
then
one
that
Nicolas
goes-
Cage, too.
Nicolas Cage is another one. There was I think it was one of Tom Cruise. There was what's his name? Oh Jesus, married to Angelina Jolie.
Not Jesus.
Shit's Camise. No, it wasn't
Brad
Jesus.
Pitt.
Brad Pitt is one of Brad Pitt.
Okay.
I think it was there was a couple of actors. There's a handful of them.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of those things. Is it that it's time travel?
Or there's just people that look like them.
There's people that look like
people
them,
that look like them.
or is it that they themselves are traveling in and
Well,
out
what
of
about
time?
this? Time travel caught on film. Charlie Chaplin, The Circus, 1928.
I haven't heard that one.
A clip from a DVD extra of Charlie Chaplin's Circus, The Circus, shows a woman walking seemingly talking on a cell phone. Decades before such technology existed, some speculated she was a time traveler. In reality, experts believe she was likely using hearing aid device, which was held similarly to how we hold phones now.
But wait a minute. But then that was back then, Charlie Chaplin days.
I got an interesting theory that
Go
I
ahead.
just came up with in my head. To explain the old paintings that look like celebrities.
Right.
Right.
Can you imagine if time travel did exist, and like there were people that like they went to celebrities to get money? They'd be
Right.
like, "Oh, we'll get an old painting made of you in the 1600s. We'll bring you back in time, and you got to give us like $2 million."
Right.
And now there's a painting out there of
Yeah,
Keanu
it
Reeves
looks
because he
like-
paid $2 million to go back in time and have someone paint him up.
Yeah.
A famous artist paint him up.
Well, but then you know what? But then that even with that theory, it kind of holds water because they had I'm gonna tell you. Well, no, listen to what I'm saying. Da Vinci, was it or Picasso? They in some of their paintings, it's people that are looking up into the sky,
Right.
and we have what looks to be either like UFOs or airplanes and things like that. That's the only reason why I'm saying that it looks like that could hold water. That theory, you know what I mean? That people were actually being brought back into time. You know what I'm saying? It could be that's another shit.
Remember, I said that's how we know time travel is real.
Right, bro. Look at how it is that the elite rich,
Yeah.
the celebrities now, they're traveling in space, like they're going up in space, and was it X and was it Bezos too?
SpaceX. Yeah, Bezos.
Oh, here we go.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, dude, if the elite paying for that, the super elite can probably pay for time travel, and that's probably how they became so rich from the time travel. Going back to what you said, that it could be that it's Musk is the one that went back in, and there's no where he came from, who he is, if he's really he might be the original Tesla.
Listen to this.
Go ahead.
This is cool. Andrew Carlson, supposed time traveler who turned $800 and $350 million in the stock market, arrested by the SEC. He allegedly claimed to be from 2256. No records of him exist beyond the story, which originated in the satirical publication. I apologize.
Right. So that he was born in the 20, and so later on he's not. So he's probably born in 2040 or 2030.
Yeah.
And then he comes back in time because he said he's from 2056. You know what I'm saying? So then he was an adult, came back here. That's the hot tub time machine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The dude stayed. He bought a bunch of Google
Oh,
stuff.
Lugal.
Yeah, Lugal. Right. Yeah. You know what I'm
And he
saying?
was singing Poison.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
On my way.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Listen, all this stuff is amazing. I love all this shit, man. I think it's awesome. You know, and
Who's
I
to say that you
I'm
didn't
gonna-
go. You know,
Yeah, I said, me,
this stuff
I
doesn't
believe-
happen.
But that was, one of the other things that I had said, and we hear people talking about in one of our other shows too, how it is that in our dreams, they say that our dreams, when we see ourselves as something else, somebody else, as far as I'm a rock star here, I'm a race car driver there, I'm the president over here, like all these things. are you tapping into your other person from a different dimension?
Yeah.
Who has achieved those things? You know what I'm saying? And if that's the case, if it, I said, if we're looking at interdimensional travel,
Right.
Or it could be that, that's just what the different timelines look like because of all the shit. Like, was it Loki? How all the different timelines happen
Right.
up. That's what I'm saying. And dude, I keep referencing all these TV shows and movies because that might be where the truth is at. You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
But so with that, this was awesome. I had fun with this shit.
Yeah, this was a good one.
I appreciate you guys. So thank you much. I enjoy you guys.
Yeah.
Same here, bro. Sorry.
Waiting for that Jesus. Man,
Wow.
God, I had to
right
bring like pulling teeth and shit. I don't like that. So with that, love, peace, and hair grease.
Live long and prosper.
And go vegan.
Hello.